Hi everyone, how's it going? I don't know. I just got bored with basically trying to talk to my loved ones about what's going on with me, because they just always seem to want to skirt the issue, as if it's going to be any easier for them when they eventually find out. Like, I don't know. But anyway, I was thinking about Gandhi's quote, and I ain't got no time for Gandhi, you guys know that, but there was a quote that he said that I want to run through bit by bit, and I want to tell you guys how I believe it affects TIs, right? And I think this is like a classic case of like how propaganda works. So this first portion of the quote says, first they ignore you. So when targeted individuals find themselves in pain or find themselves, being harassed or stalked or, or mobbed, the first thing that will happen is that when those claims are made and they try to make it to authority figures or law enforcement, the first thing that will happen is that the evidence is ignored. So any evidence that you have, whether tangible or circumstantial, if you have any evidentiary support backing up your claims of not only psychological harassment and stalking, but also unlawful surveillance and electronic torture, if you have anything in your corner backing you up, they'll ignore the evidence in the hopes that you'll get demoralized and stop talking about it. So first they ignore you. That's the ignore portion. Then they laugh at you. We've seen this with Trump, right? We've seen this with Trump. We've seen this with Flat Earth. We've seen this with Pizzagate. We've seen this with, the whole 5G COVID thing. Speaking of the 5G COVID thing, I have never seen such blatant institutionalized gaslighting and narcissistic abuse in my life. That shit was a farce. Okay? So then they laugh at you. Now, what does that mean? That means that people who have been electronically tortured, mentally vulnerable people, who have been experimented on, or people who have been rendered mentally vulnerable because of the experimentation, when they start talking, they're dismissed as crazy, they're laughed at, they're mocked by mainstream media, they're mocked by everyone. And what it leads to for some people, not all of us, but for some, the most successful ones anyway, is that they're deemed paranoid schizophrenic and either rendered incompetent or diagnosed as incompetent and having a diminished ability to give evidence in court should any of these attacks be proven or not. Like, that's the best case scenario. Best case scenario is that if you're falsely diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic and medicated, the best case scenario is that, sure, all of the injuries that you talk about, all the torture that you've endured, all the stalking that you've endured could go to court. But you being paranoid schizophrenic, it means that you have a diminished capacity to be able, you could be deemed mentally incompetent, and that could stop you from testifying. And that could make your evidence inadmissible in court. So laughing at you and calling you crazy has real consequences. But once again, the people doing it don't care. They only care about what's in it for them. So that's the laugh at you portion. The laugh at you portion is trying to paint victims as incompetent or as unreliable, untrustworthy when it comes to their claims of electronic torture and widespread community stalking. So that's the laugh at part. The fighting part is what's coming up next. Now, we've already seen all kinds of opinion pieces, columns, and lots of think pieces about how conspiracy theorists are under a spell, about how it's dangerous, about how conspiracy theorists are attached to Nazis and attached to white supremacists, and they don't believe COVID is real. They're trying to conflate. Like, it's getting to a point where now conspiracy theorists are labeled as dangerous, And when it comes to victims of Havana syndrome, and I'm talking ordinary victims of Havana syndrome, the people that it actually affects, it's going to be a matter of time before people like us are labeled as terrorists, as conspiracy theorists. And, instead of saying, oh, these people are just paranoid schizophrenic, what I think is going to come next is that if the paranoid schizophrenia doesn't work and it doesn't shut us up, then they're going to outright say that we're dangerous and we're terrorists and we have personality disorders, rather than, we have personality disorders like narcissism or psychopathy or sociopathy. Narcissism especially, because the accusation always leveled at people like myself or people like, is that we need to feel special, that we need to feel like legends. So that's the fighting part. That's what's coming up next. Now that the Havana bill has been, the Senate has, put the Havana bill forward in America, and only intelligence services are getting compensated, which means they're basically refunding the program and distancing themselves at the same time. So basically the US is basically funding it and distancing themselves at the same time. Now comes the next phase of it, because more and more ordinary people are going to speak out. So how to do something about that? Well, the only way to do something about that is to label them as political dissents, is to label us as narcissists, as sociopaths, as psychopaths, all the rest of it. And, those behaviors are usually linked with terrorism implicitly in mainstream media. So that's the fighting portion. This is where we're at. We're at the fighting portion, and it's just started. It started a few years ago when Trump became president. And, all of I don't have no time for fucking Trump, okay? Because he's a controlled opposition. I'm sorry. But he is. He's controlled opposition. And yeah. And the thing is, him being linked with, it's all purposeful. It's all purposeful to paint victims of electronic torture as dangerous now. That's what it's actually going to lead to. It's going to lead to us being represented as dangerous, so that if best case scenario for us, it does come out that we were being tortured, then it will, the spiel will be that they were protecting the country against people who would willingly upset the status quo, who would willingly put people in danger, who would willingly help to spread a virus or some shit like that. So if the truth ever did come out about targeting people with electronic weaponry, the first thing that they're going to say is that they were protecting the country against these people with personality disorders, dangerous personality disorders, that were willing to spread this conspiracy theory crap in order to brainwash people into not receiving healthcare, not taking care of their health, into allowing a pandemic to spread. That's what's going to come next. That's the fight portion, and it's only just started. It's going to get worse, because now the government have basically publicly said, yes, we were involved, but now we're distancing ourselves from it. So they're doing it to basically minimize traceability back to the US government. Okay, now the UK was smart because they kept their mouths shut, but the US are basically saying, oh no, it's not us, while saying it's them. So there's a whole thing wrapped up in it. So next is gonna, it's gonna make us out to be terrorists and things like that. And, we saw this coming. And then there's the winning part. But what does winning look like? The truth of the matter is that the truth about targeted individuals will come out. It's going to come out, okay? And not the spieled version, not the fucking, oh, they're terrorists, so we have to do this version. No, the real truth is going to come out about all the unlawful experimentations. But this is the thing that we have to accept. What we have to accept is that on our way to fight for what's right, and to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else, not all of us are going to make it. In order for us to win, it's going to take sacrifice. And I'm not talking about sacrifice through suicide, and I'm not talking about sacrifice through violence. I'm talking about sacrifice through pushing through speaking the truth, through letting our voices be heard, no matter what torture is inflicted on us, no matter how these people murder us, no matter how these people try to, engage in entrapment after entrapment out of our homes, no matter what these people try to do, we push on, we push forward, we keep speaking the truth, we seek solace wherever we can find it with people that we know are on our side. We keep pushing forward. That is the only way. Sacrifice is the only thing that's going to help us win. Because in the short term, it's too late for us to do anything. It's too late for any of us to do anything because all of us were focused on our own comfort. That's just the way it is. Okay? So in the short term, it's too late for us to do anything in the short term. But in the long term, it is never too late. The sacrifices that we make now will ensure that other targeted individuals, especially from marginalized communities, like the poor, the working class, black, brown, the rest, everyone. When we decide to fight now, it's not too late for the long term. It means that people who come after us, they'll have the truth on their side and they'll be able to fight their battles a lot more ably than we were. But it takes sacrifice. It will end. It will end. But the truth of the matter is that it's very likely it's not going to end in our lifetime. And we still have to persevere anyway. We have to be steady and we have to sort of forego our own personal feelings. I don't want to be in pain all the time. I'm going to be real with you. For years, for the entire time that I've been aware of this program, there have been times where I wished that they would just stop all this. And I even got desperate enough to think maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to say it. It just makes me feel sick. There are times where I wondered if I stopped speaking the truth, would it get easier for me? Would it make it easier? But then I realized, no, it wouldn't. Some of these perps are literally tortured worse than we are. So how would it change if I decided to switch to the other side? What am I getting out of it? A few trinkets that I can't even enjoy because I'm too fucking brain damaged? What would I get out of it? I wouldn't even be able to enjoy it because all my mind would be focused on how can I control somebody with electronic torture. So even if they did give me money, even if they did give me cover, even if they did give me all of these things, I wouldn't be able to enjoy any of it because the only kicks I'd be able to get are out of somebody else's pain. And even then, well, that's if I was a sociopathic piece of shit anyway. The only kicks I will be able to get is out somebody else's pain. And that would do nothing for me. So even if I was brain damaged enough to be a perp, even if I was bodily damaged enough to be a perp, even if I was ruined enough to be a perp, I'd get no happiness out of it. I'm better off this way. I'm better off this way. I'm better off being a TI. Way better off. It doesn't feel like it. It's hell. It doesn't feel like it, but I'm better off this way. I'm better off on the side of truth. Even if I don't see the benefits in my lifetime, because it's not about me. It's not even about the perps. It's not even about the public. It's about the truth. It's about healing. You can't have healing without truth. And if you can't get to the bottom of everything, you can't get to the bottom of what's going on, then you can't change anything. It's as simple as that. And right now, the way this world is, we're very cowardly. We don't want to get to the bottom of everything. We pretend that we care, but we don't. We don't care. First of all, right, doing what's right for the planet, the first thing we have to admit to ourselves is no matter what political leaning we're on, we do not care about other people. We have to make that clear. We care about what we care about. We have to be honest about that. We have to be real about that. We have to be real with ourselves and stop acting like we know what's going on. Stop acting like we know better than people in pain. Stop acting like we know people better than people who have lower status than us. Stop acting like we know better. And admit that we do not care as much as we say we do. I don't care which side you're on. We have to admit our selfishness. And then go within that selfishness and see what we want out of it. And then we have to think, what is the possibility of us really getting that? And then we have to think to ourselves, what's really more important? Is it about me being happy right now in this moment? Or is it about the world being happy? Is it about me getting what I want? Or is it about leaving a legacy of other people being happy and joyous and having the lives that they're supposed to have? What do I really want and what am I really going for in this life? But we have to admit we're selfish first. And unfortunately, the majority of human beings are never going to admit that because they have feelings and they think feelings makes them selfless. Don't get me wrong, it's a part of selflessness, but it's not the whole picture. You can't know you're selfless just by feeling it. It's something that you have to do. That's how we win. We don't win by focusing on the short term. We're already too late. We've already been hurt. We've already been tortured. Many of us have already been killed. It's too late to focus on the short term. We have to focus on the long term. But it starts with us admitting that we don't really care like that. We have to stop acting like we're better than we are. And we have to admit, I do not care. I did not know about the electronic torture. I did not know people were going through this because I did not care. People look up what they care about. We have to admit that we did not care. I didn't care until it happened to me. I didn't look it up. And looking back, there were clues throughout my life of what was going on with me and several other people around this planet. There were several clues throughout my life that Spirit was giving me and I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening because I didn't care at the time. And you're getting clues. People are getting clues all the time as to how this world really works. But people don't care. They just pretend they do. And if you want to win in the long term, you can no longer do that. We have to be honest with ourselves. That's how we win. And right now, I don't want to be in pain. But I know I'm going to be in pain. I know I'm going to suffer. Because for as long as I'm alive, let's take all that fucking bullshit about me being calm and about me not being affected off the fucking table. Because that's not what these perps care about. They care about the illusion of control. As long as I'm breathing, I'm going to be in pain. As long as I'm breathing, I'm going to have attempts on my life. So what I want does not matter. What matters is the good that I do for other people long after I'm dead. That's what matters. That's how you win. Selflessness is how you win. Sacrifice is how you win. That's how you win. Suicide is not sacrifice. Killing people is not sacrifice. None of that is sacrifice. You know what is sacrifice? Feeling authentically is sacrifice. Being willing to let go of your image is sacrifice. That's sacrifice. Understanding that even if you don't get what you want, it's not about giving somebody else what you wanted. It's about giving somebody else happiness. It's about healing everything from the root so that other people can have a better life if they choose to. That's how you win. That's how you win. You win by not playing the fucking game. And I refuse to play this fucking game. So anyway, I gotta go. I love you guys. Take care. Yeah. I've got some laughing to do because I've cleaned up my room. Look, check this out. That took me all day to do. Cleaned up my fucking bedroom, got everything organized. Flat is looking lovely. Well, relatively lovely, considering, you know, my back is fucked. But, well, it is for now. It's not going to be that way forever. But, yeah, I've got myself organized and everything. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, I told adult social care the truth. That should be entertaining. I told them about the torture, so that should be entertaining. I've also, you know, I've done everything that I need to do on my end, so their move. All right, I love you guys. You take care of yourselves. Fabian out.